true Team Fancy, I guess I could call them Fancy or Team Fancy, has opted to ban Tyrande first. Tyrande being a very, very powerful pick in the Europe scene, very, very contested, early pick, and it's just a very, very strong hero. So that's going to be the first ban for Team Fancy, and we'll have to see. Your team actually is going to ban out Jaina from second pick.
Well, with the Jaina ban, I mean, she is more or less first pick or ban material these days. The draft, not the draft, the patch was very kind to her.
Indeed, Jaina probably, I would say, in the top 3 heroes in the game at the moment, along with heroes like Illidan. So we're gonna have to see if Team Fancy is comfortable taking a first pick Illidan, but there are a lot of other options as well.
Well, we also there's the first pick Illidan as you were looking for, but in terms of like the polarizing picks, we've seen a heck of a lot of Illidan since the patch. I mean, he didn't really get touched, so he is still a very strong pick. He's gone very well with not only these bans, but at the same time the new Uther coming out with Redemption. He's looking pretty strong these days, and Sergeant Hammer had a heck of a showing in some of the other EU tournaments this week. So I mean, there's really a lot still left on the board for either side.
Yeah, indeed, Sergeant Hammer, I would say, is still a pretty strong pick. Not as many teams using her as of late, but if you can get her in the right composition, I feel that she can be absolutely devastating. But as we did see, Team Fancy is going to be picking Illidan first, and we'll have to see what ER team goes with here. And it's going to be Zagara.
Europe really loves Zagara.
Indeed, indeed. Zagara becoming a kind of more popular pick as of late, kind of in the last patch as well. Seeing a resurgence of Zagara. She is definitely a strong pick, definitely up there, but we'll have to see what they pick with that.
Do we actually have an update whether Sylvanas is actually usable? I'm not aware of any bans.
I believe last qualifier she was banned out, as well as Tome of the Spider Queen, and I'm pretty sure that rule is still intact, but I might be wrong on this.
Yeah, I'm gonna double check on that one. I'm just curious to see if Sylvanas will actually make it through the draft or not. But either way, Yard team, they're gonna take their back end with the Zagara and that Vala, both really strong range damage dealers. I mean, Zagara is technically a specialist, but her damage output, especially in a 1v1 scenario early game, is almost unmatched at this point.
Yeah, indeed. Vala, despite her nerf, losing that battle momentum, is still a very, very strong pick. And now we're seeing Diablo coming out from Team Fancy. And we'll have to see what they pick up with that. Very interesting pick. Diablo has gained in strength quite a bit, especially over the last couple patches. First, they buffed his combo, made it more fluid to use, kind of a quality of life buff. But in the latest patch, they also fixed the functionality of Lightning Breath, as well as reduced the cooldown on Apocalypse. So Diablo has been seeing a lot of play, especially in those kind of gank squad compositions where you flip Diablo into some kind of CC. I wouldn't be surprised to see a support pickup here. And actually, it's going to be Tassadar coming out from Team Fancy. So not a healer support, but the support in Tassadar.
Man, like there's so much controversy over Tassadar. Is he a support? Is he an assassin? Is he a specialist? He just he does so much, so very well, and it's really hard to say no to a Tassadar in almost any comp, especially one within Illidan. I mean, if it's not a Rhaegar, you got to go for the Tassadar. You can always pick up some other kind of healing on the back of it, but the shields, the Archon, the healing ward, it's just so good.
Indeed, indeed it is. And the fact that you have Tassadar with an Illidan, just bringing that shielding out, the extra shielding for Illidan is quite potent. And as well as Tassadar is a great wave clear hero, and that can be quite important on a map like Sky Temple. But also he has that healing ward, which can be very, very valuable in those shrine fights. So I really like the Tassadar pickup. I think it might allow Yar team to grab Uther here because actually they're going with Malfurion. The reason I would say Uther has a good combo with Zagara, with the Divine Maw into Divine Storm, but Yar team actually opting for Malfurion, and I'd be curious to see if this is going to be a Tranquility. I would think it's a Tranquility, Malfurion, but even with a Tranquility Malfurion, you have a nice combo to the Maw in Entangling Roots. So definitely some wombo possibilities with the Devouring Maw, especially if Vala decides to opt for Rain of Vengeance. So we're gonna have to see what ER team's other pick is here.
I have seen a very big preference when it comes to solo healers actually to just go out with the Malfurion, with the Tranquility, rather than something that we see a lot more on NA where we have like the healer and a half, the double healer kind of comps. I mean, Malfurion, El Nexo, now Team Liquid, it absolutely adores solo healing Malfurion. Doesn't matter what their team against, they're just that good that they can make it work. But on the back of the Malfurion now comes the Tychus, and the Tychus is a very common pickup against those invading Illidan comps, especially now that there's going to be a Diablo in there as well. The overkill could definitely get some big money damage during some of these bigger team fights. Now, the question though, Nick, is will it be the laser or will it be the Odin?
Well, I feel that a lot of people like taking the laser drill against Illidan. It kind of just focuses him and wrecks him, but it's possible to see Odin as well. A lot of it, I think, comes down to player preference, but I feel that laser could be pretty strong here.
And this is actually looking a little now dire for Yard team because, man, they didn't take the Rhaegar. There was no Uther pickup there from Yard either, and they are putting themselves into that triple DPS situation, which means there's going to be a tank coming out from that side. So now they're against an Illidan with his two favored supports, the Tassadar and the Rhaegar. The burst heals, the shields, the more shields, storm shields, protective shields. Like, it's that's not on paper something that you really want to go against.
Yeah, indeed. The comp of Team Fancy is quite dangerous. And I actually like the Rhaegar over the Divine Shield Uther in this situation because your team really doesn't have that much like CC. They do have a couple options, but it's not anything that
There's
Illidan
nothing
should be
hard.
Yeah, exactly. So no hard CC. I feel like Illidan is going to kind of have free reign over this team. But the idea behind your team's composition is kind of this triple ranged and sustain through Tranquility, I would have to guess. So
almost feels like with the triple range assassin, they're going to look for Kite because that's 3 melee now on Team Fancy.
yeah, indeed, and they do definitely have some kiting options on the side of your team, but I just feel that Team Fancy's composition is very strong. I'm not too sure about the Diablo pick. That's a little bit of a question to me. I would have much preferred ETC on this map, especially with Stage Dive, giving that global presence. But I feel like their composition is just very, very strong. So
it's going to suffer early game because right now there's absolutely no way for them to reliably do damage other than the Tassadar. They're going to need to pick a range damage, I feel, here. Nazebo, Falstead, Vikings all come to mind. Sylvanas is 100% banned. I've confirmed that.
Okay.
And wow, they are actually going to go for the hammers. So I don't personally, I don't really like to see Sergeant Hammers with the Illidans. They don't really stack very well together, I found. But I mean, right now, Sergeant Hammer has a little bit more of a trending build with the knockback distance, so it might just be to keep them in line.
Indeed, the Hammer kind of a weird pick to me, but I feel that she's a pretty strong hero and does quite a bit of damage. So it's not the worst pick in the world, but
now this could also be a protect the hammer comp instead of a protect the Illidan comp.
protect the Illidan and hammer comp. But I don't mind the pick personally. It's just that they have very strong heroes. They have really good synergy between Rhaegar, Illidan, and Tassadar. We'll have to see if the Diablo and Sergeant Hammer pick throws that off.
I mean, Illidan's going to be chasing. The Diablo will get in there and push people around. Rhaegar has to go into the melee. But, I mean, in terms of a chase, Sergeant Hammer is hardly the best chaser in the world. I mean, after that big boost of mobility, she's kind of left in the dust by a lot of other heroes. So, I mean, it just doesn't feel very cohesive. I much rather would have said, Malfurion, the Vikings, as I said. Nazebo has really fallen off. You just do not really see him anymore. And with Sylvanas out, those are kind of your ranged options. So, I mean, I guess they took the best that they saw. I didn't see Yard Team actually picking it up because, of course, they need their tank here. And in terms of CC, you said you'd like to see an ETC here. What's to stop Yard Team from it?
Not much to stop them from it. Wouldn't be surprised if they decide to go for it. It's a very, very strong pick on this map, as I was talking about earlier with that global presence.
Yep.
But just ETC is just such a strong hero. Despite it doesn't even matter that the global presence is strong on this map. He's just that good of a hero. So the fact that the global presence is good on this map, I would almost be certain that they would pick it. But we'll have to see. A lot of strange things can happen that end up being really good or really bad, but really curious to see what they pick up here.
Well, it's going to be down to this last pick, and yeah, I'm not entirely too sure if we're actually going to get that last pick. I'm looking at this timer, and my eyes might deceive me, but either way, we're still going to be thinking about they're going to need a tank either way. And I mean, we've seen a little bit more of a rise of Arthas in the NA. He's not super popular as yet, but he has been there. Yeah, this timer is in an infinite loop. So,
interesting.
But so, yeah, a Nubarak doesn't really seem to exist too much, even throughout this current meta. So that I suspect it's going to be an ETC or a Stitches.
Yeah, I was gonna just say I think Stitches is actually can be a really good choice here too. They have the option of using Stitches hook into Malfurion root, and then they can also follow that up by mawing any kind of follow up from Team Fancy trying to help their hooked teammate, as well as Rain of Vengeance can be used on the hook target to ensure a quick kill, depending on who gets hooked. But
I have it here from Damaga. It is going to be an ETC last pick.
Okay, it's going to be ETC.
Yep.
That makes sense. I think that there's a couple targets on Team Fancy that even if you hook them, they're going to be hard to finish off. So ETC definitely probably a better pick here. So.
Well, that is going to be the draft then, ladies and gentlemen, as we're just awaiting the invite into the game. Sky Temple with almost nobody. Actually, yeah, Yard Team has the full 5 mobile, mounters. Whereas on the flip side, TTF, I mean, they got to deal with the Sergeant Hammer. She doesn't have that mount. She has the burst ready to go. But Rhaegar has no way to speed himself up whatsoever. So why is Happy Zerg here? That's fun.
I'm not sure.
But either way, I mean, in terms of mobility on such a big map, Yard Time will definitely have a bit more of an advantage there. So we're going to have to talk to admins very quickly here to get this going. But I mean, Yard Team, and TTF haven't really heard of TTF before, Mr. Nick. I don't recognize any of the players here that have joined up either. You still with me, Mr. Nick?
Yep. Sorry, I was just addressing the players in the lobby about the casting situation.
Yeah, they're gonna play around with it. It's fine. But I mean, yeah, Yard Team, Damaga is definitely the big name coming in from that one. I mean, he's a very well-known StarCraft programmer. I hear Legacy of the Void is now out, so he's been doing a lot of work there. So, but this is the last qualifier. This is the last chance for these guys to get in for that that prize. The top 3 of 8 do go home very happy.
Indeed, I'm really excited for all these big tournaments popping up for Heroes of the Storm. Lots of money on the line, as well as other kind of prizes as well, like peripherals, hardware, stuff like that. So really exciting times to be playing and watching Heroes.
It's definitely a growing time. I mean, there's so many events now going on back and forth. Why did they make me host? Oh, this is too funny. We're playing musical chairs really hard here.
Sorry, I've been a little bit distracted trying to figure out the situation with the casting, but.
All right. I have no idea what they expect me to do here. Move me. How do I move him? Okay, I don't do this. Here, I'm going to make this easy. You just tell them that when they're ready, they can bring me back. It's so hard to get a team lobby here, guys.
You're good, I think, now. Yep, there we go.
Easy peasy.
Apologize for the short delay. Just had a issue in the lobby.
Oh, that was too funny. Yeah, or it's too early in the morning to give me any kind of responsibility like that, ladies and gentlemen.
I don't
But
even know how to use the lobby feature
I,
personally.
I just don't bother with it. Yeah,
Yeah.
same here. But as you said, qualifier number 4, Eleanor Enter the Storm. Like we're looking for the last 2 teams. 25 signed up. Only 2 can go into the grand finals here, ladies and gentlemen. And it was Gamers 2. That was the team I was missing. So to go over, Gamers 2 and Fnatic were the qualifier number 3. We had Dignitas and SK in qualifier number 2, and Team Tomorrow Big and El Nexo, now Team Liquid. All 6 of those teams are waiting next weekend for the chance at prizes, chance at cash here for the first Cup Grand Finals. And, the last 2 have to show up today. Now, there were some talks about the bracket here for qualifier number 4, number 25 teams, so a whole bunch of buys in there. But again, we got complexity, the one NA entry once more. Team Acer is here. We got ESC Gaming, Team Alternate, and of course, Demaga here with Team Yard. There's no Well Met here today, I did notice. That's a curious one. No Hasselhobbs.
Well Met. I thought I saw them on the list, but they're not checked in. Very active team in the Europe community, but surprising not to see them here.
Yeah, they were in Cup 1, Cup 2, Cup 3. They always got to about round 2, round 3. I don't think they really made it to round 4. The last, whereas round 3 is the last of the best of 1, so the Saturday content. But I'm actually a little surprised that, as I said, that they did not show up. There were a whole bunch of teams that didn't register in. And of course, we also had the daylight savings last weekend as well. So perhaps they're still thinking it's 2 instead of 1, whereas it's now about 1:30 CET. So it's it's a little bit of a shame, but there will be Cup number 2, hopefully Cup number 3 down the line as well. Lots more chances here for monies.
Heroes of the Storm, such a young esport. There's all the time in the world left, so even if they miss their opportunity here, there will be many more to come.
Yeah, absolutely. So, not entirely too sure what we're waiting on here. But once they get started, guys, we're going to go to Sky Temple here for our first game. And 8:30 in the morning, it's the best time for European heroes, man.
Yep, definitely. A little bit early in the morning for us North American guys, but
yep. And it's Easter weekend here as well. There's I know that there's 3. I think there's 3 major European lands going on this weekend. There's the Heroes of the Dorm. It's Easter weekend here in NA. I'm assuming as well EU, but there's so much esports going on right now. And here we go. They are ready. 10 out of 10. Casters are good, and we're gonna go finally into our first match, ladies and gentlemen, into Sky Temple. Tell us a little bit what you think we're gonna see here, Nick.
Well, I feel that our team is gonna be mainly focusing on rotations, getting a lot of map control all around the map, wave clear and whatnot. With their comp, they have Vala, Tychus, and Zagara for that. And I feel that the Illidan comp is gonna kind of want to hold out till level 10 and then just excel in taking good team fights because their team fight is very, very strong. It's kind of interesting though. They have a slightly non-traditional Illidan comp with Sergeant Hammer and Diablo picks. So we're going to have to see if those picks are actually good and what they do with them. Typically, you will see more like an ETC or some kind of other hero in that ranged hero other than Sergeant Hammer. But I'm really excited for this game.
Yeah, I have not had the chance to actually see Yard Team, in the flesh, so to speak. And so I'm actually now really excited to get it going. So guys, on your left-hand side, totally not totally. I got to change these team names around. It will be Demaga and crew there on the Yard Team. Would you like to introduce them for me, Mr. Nick?
Yeah, on the left side of the map as the blue team, ZW Hydra on Zagara, Des on ETC, Demaga on Vala, Gela on Tychus, and Turok on Malfurion. And on the right side of the map, as the red team, we have Crosby on Sergeant Hammer, Devez on Tassadar, Happy, Vermia on Rhaegar, Darkmok on Illidan, and Blumby on Diablo for the true team fancy.
Blumby. That's a great name. Blumby. I love it. All right, so we do have our lanes. It does look like Sergeant Hammer is going to be trying to push down top, but I mean, it's going to be hard pressed up against the Vala Malfurion combo. It's going to be multi-shot for days up there. It will be Tassadar to take on the Zagara. Not exactly the best of matchups for Zagara. She's going to have a heck of a time leaving that creep down. And ETC, ooh, country ETC. That's a skin we don't see that often. Up against the Lord of Terror there in the mid.
Yeah, indeed. We have the warrior matchup in mid, and we have that tri-lane in top, trying to push at each other, and we have the quote like strong ranged heroes in bottom, Tassadar versus Zagara.
Yeah, the creep. I mean, the creep has we got reconstitution, so 200% bonus health regeneration on creep. That will be very much employed and used here by Hydra. But you can see already, I mean, he goes straight there for Diviz, goes right through that shield. We now got the Hydralisk on him as well. It's really hard for the Tassadar to kind of duel out if he cannot get rid of these creep tumors, because the health regeneration is just going to be too much for him to do.
Yeah, indeed. Zagara, a fearsome laner in the early game, but Tassadar also a strong hero as well in lane. So, but in the top lane, we do have control for Team Fancy on that top shrine, and Yella actually going to get picked off by Illidan and Rhaegar.
Yeah, really nice pseudo dive into the top there. They saw the Tychus. He was a little bit too far forward, and the dive went in, the lightning shield, and the Earthbind. And it was enough. That was definitely enough. They're not going to switch places there with the Illidan, augment this push with the power of Crosby on that siege tank, and that will take down this top gate area for sure. Start working away into the next towers, into possibly even the fort if they nurture right. Mid, however, has gone the way of blue, and of course they are doing the same that they can here into the mid. Lumbee and the ETC just kind of bouncing off each other. The bottom laners have not moved.
Indeed, both teams opting to just trade shrines and leave their strong ranged laners in the bottom lane. Kind of a passive game so far, other than that early kill onto your team's Tychus. But we'll have to see what happens here with rotations and mercenary timings.
Well, speaking of the mercenary timings, it looks like 2:45. It's a good time to go grab your Siege Giants. And Turok and Damaga are down. That they do get spotted out by the far side, though. The level 4 talent is now being revealed here for our Rhaegar. But here comes the big gank on top of Dez. He still had that power to slide ready to go, so he's just going to slide right on through. And he'll be A-okay for now. Jella is definitely being very careful into this top. He's not pushing out. He's not really engaging the creep wave. In fact, he's going to go for the Watchtower. Just to try to give some semblance of notification if he is getting ganked out. But that first kill has really put him a little bit more on the defensive.
Yeah, indeed. We did see that Diablo engage onto ETC to try to pick him off, but kind of how I was talking about earlier, I just didn't understand the Diablo pick, so there really wasn't anything to follow up onto ETC. But even if there was, he is pretty tanky, so he probably wouldn't have been able to be picked off, but it's kind of just weird seeing Diablo in a comp where you don't have like that Tyrande Lunar Flare follow-up stun.
We got very used to that, didn't we?
Yeah, indeed. We'll have to see as the game goes on if that ends up being a factor more often, but we do have the Bruiser camp now being taken by the real Team Fancy. I'm gonna get those out, and we have your team's Bruisers already pushing into the top lane, so it looks like Team Fancy is going to try and clear these out with Hammer, Illidan, and Rhaegar.
Yeah, that will do loads of work. I mean, already that you can see that these boosters are dropping and dropping and dropping. And now that that threat is out of the way, we do have the Reds now going to be marching forward through this top lane. But it is going to be the bottom lane tribute, as expected. And it looks like Damaga and crew are just going to leave it to the mule. They're going to leave it in the hands of creeps and mules.
Indeed. We have both teams on even footings right now. The experience is very equal, so one team or the other doesn't really have to kind of sacrifice this. They both can fight here.
Whoa. Sorry, Mr. Nick, we got double searing attacks, sizzling attacks, and searing attacks on our Valatika.
Very, very interesting. I like this a lot, actually.
Well, we'll have to see if it actually gets used to perfection here, because there goes the Tassadar into the bottom lane. Dez has been taking such a beating, but Malfurion keeping him up and alive. Lumbee is going to be the big target here. Hydra with those kills, and I think it was the grenade there from Gela that actually sealed the deal. But I am actually not. So not only did I get caught off guard, I think Team Fancy here also getting caught off guard with those double steering attacks, but on the back of that as well, they could not even hurt that ETC.
Yeah, ETC just a force to be reckoned with, especially with that block. But I was going to have to say, I really feel that I favor Yard team's team fight pre-level 10. I feel that the level 10 team fight for Team Fancy, that's when they really shine, but before that, they just aren't that strong. But we do have a pickoff, again, on the Tychus of your team.
Nope, once more, he was just a little bit too far forward, and the double divers here. This is a big strength of this comp. Illidan and Rhaegar, they go in, it's Earth, it's the Earth Grasp Totem, it's Lightning Shields, and it's chase, chase, chase. There's not a whole lot you can do unless you have an instantaneous teleport, which, well, shockingly, nobody here has from Yard Team. So they are definitely hurting a little bit in terms of the kills in the top lane, but, you know, that top lane push didn't actually get anything. While we were all fighting bottom lane, the Mule has been doing some solid work. You can see even after that little bit of poke from the Team 2 Fancy, they're still not getting anything out of this top lane.
Indeed, really nice rotation by your team to get up there after the Shrine fight and save that top fort. The Mule getting a lot of value. This has to be one of the best maps in the game for Mule. Anytime I play this map, I make sure if my hero has Mule, I'm taking it unless someone else can, and it would be better for them. But we now have your team again going for their Siege Giant camp. Team Fancy just capturing theirs as well. And they're actually riding in a little bit close here, maybe trying to pick a fight. But they do have Diablo in the top lane, but Tychus is up there as well, so it could be a 4v4 situation.
Yeah, it does not look like we're going to be getting that full finds. We actually still got their mid laners there as well. So just a little bit of each side just trying to clean up the other in terms of the Mercs. And well, it looks like it's going to be Blue winning up the duel, shockingly enough, up against the Hammer. And Illidan not really able to kind of get into range to do much about it. Here's the next temple activates. Going to be in the top and bottom this round, and already ETC making his way. Here comes the Tychus as well. Yes. Diablo is going to make a U-turn. He's going to go straight for the top, so it doesn't look like we're actually going to contest the bottom and perhaps even just trade out instead.
Yeah, indeed. It's kind of curious to me. I would have thought that they might want to take a fight here, but they're actually going to back off of bottom and go for the trade instead. Maybe they feel like they want to take fights later on in the game, but it's getting close to level 13 here for Yar team, so I would think that Yar team probably wants to fight them at level 13 with that talent advantage.
Well, they put their healer on the point. So if we actually did go for a straight up engage right now, you know, the Illidan, Hammer, Rhaegar, Tassadar, they could bully out Yard team from anywhere on this map because they don't have Turok. And Turok, in fact, is now actually back all the way back home. And would you believe that Blumby has actually now been bullied off the top just by the Tychus?
Tychus can be a fearsome hero, so not complete disbelief on my half, but looks like Team Fancy is trying to aggress a little bit, and we have your team backing off despite their talent advantage. Content just to go for their Freezer camp here, but we do have Team Fancy approaching this position.
Yeah, it's not going to be much of a talent advantage for long. There goes the level 13 dings, and everybody is now sort of in range. You can see the little red eyes above the Yard team, so they know that there's a Tassadar here somewhere, but they're not willing to go find out where. They are just going to melt off into the background. And, well, Turok is at least going to attempt pushing top a little bit. Here comes Crosby. He's going to show himself into that top, and the rest of the roam here from Team Fancy, they're going to go for ETC? Not exactly the target they were looking for.
Yeah, Team Fancy seeming to have trouble catching a good position for them to team fight against Yar team. And going back to that Diablo pick once again, really all he does is, you know, kind of charges in, tries to get a flip, but they really don't have too much follow-up CC. So I feel like getting a pick isn't going to be how they're going to win a fight. They're going to just have to straight up fight them, and hopefully Illidan can do a lot of work in that fight.
Now the good news is because Crosby cleaned up top, we do got some pressure there from Team Fancy. That will at least put the pressure there, and it looks like that's actually going to draw Demaga into the top lane, so they don't lose too much out of it. This is a good chance to push forward, look for those easies. Darkmock actually already looking for those siege giants, so he's going to start those off, and they know that Vala's top, so there's not going to be a fight here. Well, at least they don't think there's going to be a fight here.
Indeed, those bruisers into top lane, as you said, able to get Team Fancy, allowed them to take the siege giants of the R team, and they're now opting to go for their giants as well. Yeah.
Immediately, as soon as he sees that ETC on the mines, he just has to use those thrusters out of there.
By the way, I just wanted to mention that Diablo did go for Apocalypse in this game. I was kind of curious.
Yep. ETC also went for the mosh pit, would you believe?
Wow, very, very interesting, but I guess they just feel that Team Fancy doesn't have sufficient interrupts, so mosh pit can be a devastating ultimate, but stage dive's just so strong on this map as well, but I don't mind the pick.
It's hard to say no to global pressure, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
But you talked about this back at the draft. I mean, we're looking for a wombo. We haven't really had a super big team fight as of yet. I mean, it's level 10 went off, and it's still 2-2 in terms of the kills. And now we're about to hit those 16 talents soon enough. Darkmock is in front. It's going to be okay there because of the Rhaegar heal. But, I mean, where's the wombo? We got a hammer right there. Maw into mosh pit. That's what we're going to look for. But it does look like we're going to trade it out for that Illidan Metamorphosis. There goes the mosh pit. Catches all three of them in there. 1 and 2. Here comes the Rain of Vengeance. But it's not going to cast a V. He is going to use that Dimensional Warp away. But the other two are dead and dusted. The Diablo caught. The ETC just doing a fantastic job with that wombo, and that's what we were looking for. That is the wombo we were looking for.
Indeed, for Korcha. I completely forgot about the Zagara Maw into ETC mosh pit. Kind of fell out of popularity a bit because stage dive became so popular, but Diablo and Tassadar getting caught by that Maw and instantly being mosh pitted out of that. So very, very nice coordination from your team. Also getting a Rain of Vengeance onto them, able to secure some kills, and now that's going to be boss for them as well.
Yeah, and as 12-minute boss, I mean, it's not game over, but they did take a lot of that mid-tempo, and now they got that boss, which is going to dictate a lot of the movement here from the true Team Fancy. That they're, as you can already see, all 5 of them heading down. That's going to leave us an opportunity here to snipe the bruisers, I feel.
Yeah, it's definitely what they could go for. They're just opting to get some keep towers right now. And they're actually looking to snipe the keep itself, and having that level 16 advantage here puts them in a pretty safe spot, but they're actually kind of backing off now.
And they're going to have to, because here comes Blumby. That's going to be Blumby with that overpower, looking for Demaga, but another fantastic Maw. We don't have a mosh pit to follow it up this time. We do got that power slide. There's no Rain of Vengeance. Darkmock and Blumby are actually running from the top. They have no hit points to their name. Crosby with that first aid is just going to end under half hit points as well. So it might not be any kills, but the defense has been mounted. They've saved out the keep. Not too much damage there. They've also saved out their bruisers as well. So that engage did work out pretty favorably for Blumby, because they're down that talent tier, but they were able to successfully defend without having to death.
Yeah, indeed. It was a pretty good engage by them. It forced out the Devouring Maw, but they did use the Team Fancy did use the Archon, so they traded Maw for Archon essentially, but Team Fancy was able to defend that mid-keep. But now we do have the Shrines up. Team Fancy, fortunately for them, is now level 16, so we'll have to see if they want to pick a fight here.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the 16 talents. I mean, the Tassadar is gone. They like to call this the race car, but, Prescience and Dimensional Warp just makes them very hard to kill one-on-one. And even in team fights, big AoE damage will not really mean too much to him. You can see Crosby now just coming into the lane with that hover siege. So the level 16 talents are real. Demaga really low in the back there. He's going to get healed up there. There's the Apocalypse, though. Is that our first Apocalypse, I think, that we've seen? Blumby, however, not really hitting the targets that he needs. The Rhaegar heal is on point. It's going to keep that Diablo up, but now Illidan is kind of left to the dogs, and down he goes. It's going to be a big Odin, a big Maw. We're looking for these wombos. We don't have the Mosh ready to go, but it's still going to be Sergeant Hammer. That's dead and dusted. Deviz is now going to be running away. Blumby's still trying to kill the Demaga. The whole fight was initiating on the Vala, and she lived through all the way to the end. taking down 3 team members for her trouble, losing none, and Team Yard with a very solid fight on top of this temple.
Our team seems to like this triple range comp. They're playing it excellently, and Team Fancy really just doesn't really have an answer for it at the moment. I feel like they're kind of getting outplayed in these team fights, and their composition it really starting to not make sense to me. Like, I was open to the idea of, seeing what the Diablo could bring to this comp, but the more and more I look at this game, I just feel that some of their picks were just not what I would consider optimal for their comp.
Well, you did call into question the Diablo, and I called into the question the Sergeant Hammer. So, I mean, you're not untrue in terms of that, but at the same time, the core of the Illidan with the double support has been long a comp. Unfortunately, earlier into the game, unless you get some kind of big advantage late, I mean, you're going to go in at a level disadvantage, which is what's happening here. The Illidan is not getting the support he needs. In fact, a lot of the support is on the Diablo, and the Diablo doesn't even have Lightning Breath. So it almost feels like they're playing it to protect the Diablo, protect the Hammer, and Illidan is just kind of there rather than, trying to support him. And why did we put down Man Your Mule right there?
Well, sometimes teams like to put down the Mule for actually a sight ward. Actually, early on in the Heroes Alpha, you could cast it anywhere on the map, but they nerfed it so because people are using it too much to just scout the map randomly.
It was really good.
Yeah, definitely. But I think that might have been for vision, which is really interesting that they're still using that tactic, albeit a nerfed version of it.
Well, I mean, it will sit there as a very lonely little SCV, forgotten from the days of Brood War. But level 20 hype, Mr. Nick. We got some bolts, we got Hardened Shield, the Nexus Frenzy. This is a full-on auto attack Tychus, as a note. We looked at the Sizzling at level 7, no first aid there. But Commandeer Odin, Relentless Executioner, and now Nexus Frenzy.
Yes.
Indeed, indeed. We have Nexus Frenzy coming out of Tychus. Really, really interesting build from Tychus. I definitely like when players experiment like this, but I'm not convinced either way. But if they like this playstyle and they're accustomed to playing it, then I could see why they might want to use it. But
it's definitely a very aggressive build. It does augment a lot of the offensive capabilities. There's the Vision Mule right now. So 100%, I think you nailed it. The Vision Mule is strong with the team of Yard team, which makes sense. I mean, Demagan, StarCraft player, he's used to scouting mules and all the time, I would say. But with the level 20 now coming in, the full auto attack Tychus, I mean, his range is going to be insane with the Odin. Not only do you get extra range from the Odin, now he's got 20% more on top of that. Executioner to go with the Frost Shot, and the Sizzling attacks to go with Searing. It's just, that is a heck of a lot of damage.
Tychus is going to be hitting like an absolute truck in the upcoming fight, and I'm really excited to see what kind of work he's able to do. But Team Fancy just trying to stay alive in this game, but they're going to have to go all in sooner or later. They're down to no keeps left, so they're in very, very dire position in this game.
Yep, and that's going to be all the shots into this bottom. They're coming down here for a fight, but it could be too little too late. Dez is there keeping Darkmok off to the side. Hydra is now going to be a big target here. He's going to throw down the Maw, only takes home Happy. The Apocalypse does hit, but doesn't really feel like it has that big impact. And once again, the Rhaegar heal. They're on top of Lumby. The Illidan is into the back. He's actually kind of getting ignored at this point as the rest of the team is now trying to collapse here on top of this laning trio. Tychus is down. There goes the Illidan. He's finally done his duty. The Mosh Pit comes in, but there's no follow-up here from Dez and crew. Finally, here comes the damage, but not before we get a shield there on top of Lumby. But the Sergeant Hammer is down. There goes the Diablo, and now it's going to be the Tassadar and the Rhaegar running for the hills, and they are not going to be able to mount a defense, Nick. We got catapults on the core. We got a full temple up, and I think we can now safely say it's going to be a Yard team victory here in round 1 to enter the Storm Qualifier number 4.
Yes.
Yeah, once again, Yard team coming out with a very strong triple ranged comp against this kind of unorthodox Illidan comp, and I feel that a lot of this game was won and lost at the draft screen. no discredit to our team, but I feel like both teams played pretty well. It's just that the team fights did not go in the favor of Team Fancy, and that's going to be our team taking this game.
Well then, that will be game number 1 of today's coverage, ladies and gentlemen. Yard team with the triple range assassin. There was 4 melee. 4 melee.